for me. Asma, thank you for joining us. I was introducing you to everybody, saying that you are the Senior Consultant of Strategy and Experience at IBM, and you're going to be talking about consumer behavior and the power of data. So take it away.
Super, thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Super excited to be here. And I was on backstage listening to a couple of conversations here and there. And I love how the first couple of sessions were a lot about technology, a lot about platforms. So in my role, I largely work a lot in terms of the innovation and experience space. I work with big companies, but I also mentor a lot of startups. And my conversations are largely around how do you really make your digital operating models more resilient? And more interestingly, what is your digital business model looking like? Because nowadays, right, with all the data that's available, it becomes way more specific to figure out those small pockets of value. And the kind of conversations I'm having with clients is that no more is it convenient or is it applicable to create those 3 to 5 year strategies. Now, especially with, one of our speakers earlier spoke that we need to create those prototypes and get them in front of the users ASAP to figure out they're going to be successful or not. And this is where the whole strategy of big and small companies is changing, is you need to figure out those small pockets of value, take it to the customer and see what works, what doesn't work. And given the fact that we're living this platform economy, we want the customers to come on our platform rather than anywhere else, because with those interactions, we're going to get that data and we're able to really make those informed decisions. And so what I'm looking at in my space is that the whole digital business model is working in a very cyclical way, that you create a service or a product, the customer gets on your platform. And with the interactions the customer has with your platform, with their behavior, with understanding where they touch, how much they touch, you're able to understand what is that next thing that I should create. And then it just continues in a loop. Simplistic, but what it does is that it really de-risks the innovation that's happening. A good way that a good example that I've always used is about the music industry, and I find that really interesting. Is in the 1950s you had the record industry of America, and for them they had this monopoly. They had all the amazing musicians exclusively licensed to that to record industry, right? And people would just go to the stores and they would pick out a specific album to just enjoy it, and that was a really massive value, but it was so monopolized, that industry. Come the late 90s, and we've got Napster, and Napster started introducing this huge value jump, right? Is that now you don't need to buy complete records. You can buy one, you can get one single song, and you can get it for free, and you can just download it and it'll be instant, right? And then move forward to 2003, and you've got iTunes. And people preferred iTunes over Napster, which was free, because iTunes gave them that portability aspect, that you could carry thousands of songs in your back pocket and listen to them any time that you wanted. So that value element became such a decisive factor for customers. But now where we are, we've got all of these music platforms, these streaming giants that are just creating those small pockets of value to convince customers, hey, come establish a relationship with me. I spoke to some friends on why they prefer Spotify, and they said, it's because when I get on that platform, I get this sense of personalization. I get songs that I prefer, and I am able to explore different songs based on what I've selected so far. And this is a really, I would say, a good reflection of where major industries are headed, is that competition is going to be on those small pockets of value. And this is where it becomes crucial that you look at what your customer is desiring, how your customers are interacting, and you start establishing those value elements. And so a study by Gallup said that organizations that leverage these behavioral insights of customers outperform their peers by 85% in sales growth and more than 25% in growth margin. And as startups, you are in such a fix that growth is such a major performance criteria for you that you cannot just overlook the implications of using customer research so much. And so your ability to capture and use customer insights to create a product and services will be a key differentiator for you. An example, right, that I think of LinkedIn is that LinkedIn started with just job matching. It was find your job for companies to find your ideal candidate. And over time, understanding what customer needs were, how customers were interacting, how they were communicating with each other, they added the thought leadership criteria as a value element for their users as well. And moving forward, fast forward to today, we know that LinkedIn has started introducing a lot of concept in terms of education, because they've realized that their customers within this professional network want to not just showcase themselves in a better light and brand themselves, but they also want to build their skills as well. Again, coming in from how the customers are interacting with your platform. Going back a little bit of examples, and I love these. This is largely in the large company space. So on your right, you've got this tractor company, tractor manufacturing company, been in existence for over 100 years, and they started creating like a digital service where they would help their farmers see, okay, you know what kind of maintenance service can I provide? But over time, how farmers were starting to interact with this application, they saw that there was a large need for farmers to understand what is the weather going to be like tomorrow, and how is that weather going to impact my tractor or the major equipment that I've bought from this particular manufacturer. And so what this manufacturer did is that it introduced a new service based on a data stream where farmers would get insights into what is that weather looking like tomorrow, so they could make decisions whether, hey, do I park my tractor inside, do I put it in the shed? And that ended up helping farmers maintain their product much better. And then on the other side, you've got Nike, right? And Nike is all about a physical company that went online and established a huge community, which was all about running. So now if you're on the Nike app, you can run with a person who's in Uzbekistan. And again, coming back to the startup world, two major companies, Kareem, a local homegrown company, started off with a ride-hailing app, and now it evolved into a super app where it's introducing insurance services. It's understood that customers are going to be without data, so how do you give them that cash environment where they can actually make those decisions? And then on the right-hand side, we've got one of these massive giants tech company from China, Mietang Jiamping. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And their whole concept is that they started with Groupon, and now they've become the Amazon of services. So how are they doing it? Is that they are looking at customer data and they're starting to figure out what are the different services that I need to add on my platform. And so as what is that starting point, right? When you start looking at it, what's needed to make it happen? And the way that I consult companies that I interact with is that figure out and have solid conversations around data value creation, and ask yourself questions. Why is data a strategic asset for you? What can you do with this data? Figure out, the right use cases. How do we realize, the value of data, and what do you need to create a resilient organization that will create those use cases that impact your end users? So again, from the first part, when you ask questions about the why and what, this is largely drafting your entire vision, creating your roadmap, right? Is that what kind of value are you going to create for your customers? And it can be things like monetizing data, which is something that we saw with the tractor company, or introducing new products and services like we saw Kareem do. And then on the other end is about how are you going to capture that value, and what do you need to do to actually make this value, right? Which is all about a resilient and dynamic operating model. And here you look like, do I have the right skills? Do I have enough people who understand what data is coming in and what is that potential impact? And again, reaching out to an ecosystem and figuring out who are the right partners, right? Who do I need to reach out with to make things happen? Who's got the right kind of data that complements the stuff that I'm doing as well? So yeah, again, look at the way customers are interacting with your platform and then make informed decisions, because that is definitely going to be a way you create competitive advantage to yourself. I hope you found my talk useful. Link up with me, on the chat, or link up with me over LinkedIn. I'll be happy to have a conversation with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Asma, and thank you for being approachable.